What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Kyle Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. What's up, guys? This episode of the podcast was really fun with a super cool guest. In this episode, we get into some great topics, especially for those just starting in their business journey. Some of the things that we talked about include finding the right people that you click with, studying the successful influencers in your field, figuring out different ways to house hack for your situation, and so much more. There are a bunch of interesting concepts in this episode, and I hope you enjoy. Let's jump right into the episode. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 31 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, I have the great pleasure of talking with Eric Seferian. He's a phenomenal loan officer with Bank of England Mortgage. What's going on, Eric? How's everything going, man? What is new?
Hey, Kyle, first and foremost, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. This is a great opportunity for me to talk a little bit about my business, and, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. The pleasure is all mine. I'm very excited to have you on. So to kind of start to jump right into things, if you could kind of tell me a little bit about like what your day-to-day looks like, as a loan officer, a little bit about your company and, kind of how you got into the industry. Kind of your story.
Sure thing. So I've been a loan officer with Bank of England Mortgage since last summer. I started it in August. And I got started right at the time when interest rates were super low. Mortgages were the hot industry, and everyone and their brother was looking to refi. And so that's what I was sort of hired on to help do. I was a loan officer assistant for my first 6 months. Mm-hmm. And really I was just helping fill out applications, communicating with borrowers, assisting a loan officer who was really had a crazy amount of business going on and needed essentially an assistant. And that has turned into me doing my own thing, running my own book of business as a loan officer.
That's wicked cool. That's quite the time to start,
It was.
So what kind of, got you into that?
Sure. So my first job after school was in property management. So I was sort of a mini real estate agent. I was renting out apartments in Linfield. It was a 200-unit community that I was the leasing manager for. And sort of I saw an opportunity to advance my career in property. And, mortgages were always interesting to me. Sort of each one's like a little puzzle. So I took the opportunity.
That's wicked cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That's, quite a way to get into the industry and, kind of bounce around a couple different roles and stuff in there. And that's great. Wow. What is your drive and your vision for the long term?
Sure. So, what I like about what I do is helping people, advance their own lives and become the best version of themselves. That's sort of a phrase I say a lot, even applying it to my own life, sort of trying to, grow my business, help people out. One of the best deals I worked on was helping my buddy buy a condo in Florida that he's now rehabbing. And so that's a cool project for him. It was nice to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's wicked cool. Especially to be able to help out, kind of one of the boys and stuff,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So where actually, kind of do you guys cover, like in terms of, I guess, like jurisdiction and stuff, like your company?
Yep. So Bank of England Mortgage, we're headquartered in England, Arkansas. Not everybody knows that. So it's been a family-owned company. Yep. And it's a cool story since 1896. Wow. And at this point, there are over 150 branches nationwide. And, it's still family-owned. And we live the values of, a small company, even though we've grown into a big company, of, communication comes first, and taking things, on the relationship level.
Yeah, that's extremely valuable.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
And as far as like the jurisdiction we cover, we do all 50 states.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
Hmm.
So like if you had one, you like in a case like that, do you just kind of, I guess, like does every loan officer kind of cover all 50
Yep.
states, or do you kind of like,
Hmm.
call up somebody maybe like down in
No.
Florida? Really?
Nope.
That's wicked
I
cool.
can do, yeah, like the deal I did in Florida was all me. I have a lead in California that I'm working on. So,
That's really
yep.
cool. Oh my God.
Michigan, I've done deals. It is. Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's
Indiana. So, it's, and that's part of, what I like. It's, every deal is a little different, especially, Michigan, condo, like who knows, right? So, everything's a little different, a different challenge.
yeah. It must be really cool to kind of see like, some of the different purchase prices and like square footages and stuff like across the US, and that must be really interesting. That's wicked cool.
It is. Yep. The property taxes are totally different. In Boston, it's crazy. Indiana, it's, not as crazy.
Yeah, yeah, totally. What are your thoughts on kind of building relationships and expanding your network? I know we kind of got into it a little bit, but
Yeah, definitely. So that's one of my favorite parts of the job. Meeting new people, interacting, hearing cool life stories that people have. And I think it's really going to be the key to developing my business as well.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's really valuable, like just some of the relationships and like the people you come across, and plus it is a lot of fun, to kind of hear those stories and um, about people doing all kinds of different things from all kinds of different places, and it's a ton of fun. Really is.
Agreed. Totally agree.
um, what do you consider to be the biggest variable in expanding your clientele?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this question, and I would have to say the amount of time I can sort of dedicate to networking,
Hmm.
because as I'm sure you know, it's easy to get sort of sucked into one deal and get tunnel vision on getting people to close,
Yep.
and obsessing over certain clients. But you have to keep networking, you have to keep meeting new people and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It really is, kind of easy to get sucked into that kind of world, but just to kind of keep like reaching out to people and just keeping things moving. Yeah,
For
I
sure.
couldn't agree more.
Hmm.
Ooh, what would you say is the most important lesson that you have learned over your career so far?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So, I've been doing this for, like I said, almost a year now.
Mhm.
And I would say just, finding the connections you click with, the people you want to work with, the people who are going to make your life easier, and going towards, what your instinct feels is right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I totally agree. Um, it really is, kind of something special. Like, when you start to find those people that like you really do just click with and just kind of hit it
Yeah.
off with and have some fun.
Yeah. And I mean, those are the people who you're going to want to grow your network with, right?
Yeah,
Like, because I mean, it's a little bit of a cliche, but good people attract good people, and so that's how networks form, really.
it's so true. Yeah, it really is. Um, ooh, how do you define wealth?
um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's what we've been talking about. I think we've already hit the nail on the head, where it's sort of like, you want to be in a situation with good people around you, relationships, certainly family, friends, business connections. That's wealth. That's what life is. It's just a series of the connections in your life, really. So I mean, that's what I strive to do.
Yeah, I love that. It really is like just kind of to have, the right people around you and like, just enjoying everything and being really happy. And even that kind of even links in with like the networking and stuff that you were saying before. like you might meet a connection or something, and you guys could be friends for life or something, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you just hit it off that well. And
Yeah. I mean, it's not always, on to the next transaction.
yeah.
That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to build, to build a lifetime of connections, really. And it's hard to see it on the big picture like that every day, but
It definitely is, but once in a while, you kind of am able to see it, like you're able to kind of like, I guess, see like your rewards for, just the daily grind of meeting with people. And yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. Um, what are the most effective resources that have helped you the most so far on your journey?
Yeah. So one, thing that I've started doing is just sort of observing the people in the industry who have been really successful.
Yeah.
Certainly right now, the thing to do is videos, right? You have to, record as much video content as possible so people can see your face. And I think that's a huge part of the real estate industry, as well as, doing stuff like this, like podcasts, but really anything to gain visibility.
Yeah, I feel like that really is, the big thing is, like you said, to pretty much like just kind of build a brand. And I feel like, doing like something like a video or, like a podcast or something, and just kind of showing like more of like you and your personality. Like I feel like that sticks out like a lot more than, just like some other stuff, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
just kind of like showing, I guess, more or less who you are so people can kind of like, feel you out like before
Yeah.
actually,
Before they
it's really
hire you on.
valuable. Yeah.
To sort of, yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense because I would want to work with somebody who sort of fit with my personality if it were me buying a home, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Like I feel like you can just kind of pick up, like the enthusiasm, and like I feel like you can, yeah, I guess just kind of, feel people out more based on, like the content and stuff that they put out. And, just kind of being like, like the local, I like to think of it as, it's kind of a weird analogy, but to try to be like more well known locally than like a politician. Because like, like
yeah.
I don't know, I just kind of think of it that way. It's kind of weird, but you know what I mean? Like they get like signs out front and like, going to schools and stuff, and like just getting the name out there, like to, help them win their campaign or whatever it is, like just to kind of be like, to, I guess, like get out there in a similar fashion to, someone in that kind of position, and just doing it in like the right way and like all positive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I mean, I think you nailed it. It's the other piece is reputation, right?
exactly. Yeah.
So that's key. And I mean, if you're having, successful transactions, good connections, that sort of thing, that's good for your reputation. That's how you get referrals. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like it is a lot more sustainable, that way. Just, you know, just kind of like, I guess, doing things the right way and, like 100%, like out of good intentions and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those are the deals you're going to feel really good about at the end of the day, right? Like I can think of deals that, the clients have been like over the moon, so happy, loving you. And those are really the best deals to work on.
Yeah. I feel like honestly, like shooting for something like that too, like just like a really, really good relationship is like really big in terms of like gaining long-term sustainability, instead of just kind of doing like, oh, here's one transaction, like great. But, like if you just kind of build that relationship and just really, yeah, I mean, just kind of focus on the relationship, honestly, and like the service that you're giving them. And I feel like that kind of might lead to like money down the line or something, like just kind of like
Yeah.
a different focus might actually lead to something else, as well as
Yeah.
having like a lot of satisfaction of, helping those people out and like, seeing the really ecstatic,
Uh-huh.
people on the other end, like just from helping them out and stuff.
Totally.
It's unbeatable.
And I agree. It's one of the best parts about the job.
Yeah, I totally agree. Definitely. What is something that you thought about business, networking, or wealth creation that kind of changed as you went along?
Yeah.
This
So
one
I
can be a
mean,
fun one.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I guess I would say, it's not all about the dollars.
Yeah.
I guess that, and I'm sort of repeating what we've already said, but the real wealth is in the networking.
It really is.
Um,
It's kind of a crazy, I guess, shift from thinking about it like, like how much money can I make to what can I do, to keep it, like we were kind of talking about, like to keep it sustainable and to keep those good relationships. And, with that, down the road, eventually, like that kind of money will come, and like the referrals, like you were mentioning, and, just kind of doing things like the right way. And I guess not really worrying about the money as much, and just like
mhm.
focusing on providing, like a really like incredible product, or, like you yourself as, just a personal brand, and, just making sure everything's positive and people are kind of getting as much as they can.
Yep, definitely. Um, I mean, I'm in a lucky position where, it doesn't have to be all about the money right now. Um, so I'm thankful for that. That's, been a blessing.
Yeah, it really is. That really adds to it too. Like if I guess if you just kind of think of it as, like any transaction that you do might be kind of like a bonus,
Hmm.
and you're not actually like relying on that, so you can actually, I feel like, kind of dig a lot deeper, in terms of just, yeah, like providing like your service and stuff, and like making sure everything's great and everything, because like you don't really need that money to live, you know.
Right.
I feel like it's a
Yep.
really good position to be in.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I want to buy my own home. I still have goals,
Yeah,
that I'm shooting for. Um, and so that's something that is totally on my mind, like my own 2-unit property in the next couple of years. So that's sort of, I guess, going back to an earlier question, another thing that's driving me. I guess and it's also another thing that has changed about my perspective in the industry over the last couple of years. Home ownership is a great way to build wealth.
it
And
really
I
is.
guess my eyes, yeah, preaching to the choir right now. But I guess my eyes weren't fully open to, how powerful owning a home can be when I started in the industry.
Yeah, honestly, I bet it was probably pretty interesting, to kind of see, I mean, just going through with what you do, and, just to kind of see, I guess, like how powerful it can really be, and
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy the way homes are appreciating, especially this year.
yeah,
The appreciation numbers are crazy. And as well as, if you own a 2-unit home, owner occupied, you can do FHA and put down 3.5% and be collecting rent on another unit. Um, and, that can spiral into you owning multiple properties.
exactly. Yeah, it's something that it's really like life changing, honestly, if you can kind of, grasp it and execute on it. Even like you said, like, 3.5% down, like that's not usually too crazy. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, it's doable. It's
exactly.
doable. It certainly is. Like I feel like a lot of my friends right now, my own circle, it's kind of like buying a home is not really on their radar. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? They're kind of like, oh, like I'll buy a home when I'm like married with kids and like settle down. I don't know. I'm kind of geared towards getting a property like sooner rather than later,
Yeah.
even if it's for 5 years. But to own something and to be, paying down principal on it on a property that's appreciating, and being able to sell it for more or just fully rent it out, that appeals to me.
Yeah, I totally get that. I totally get too with what you were talking about with your friends and your circle. I
Right.
totally
Yeah.
get that, trust me.
They're like, oh, that's crazy to buy a home right now. Why would you want to spend all that money? But when you start thinking about it as an investment,
Yeah,
it makes sense.
it really does. And even if not now, then like long term.
Right.
Like if what if, like you bought it now, and then, with the FHA, if it's like the year that you have to occupy it, like to satisfy, like the loan criteria or whatever,
Mhm.
once that year is up, like you can rent out that other unit. And now
Right.
hopefully, if kind of things go in the right direction, then you should be collecting, some kind of cash flow or something on that property. And even
Yeah.
if not, they're paying down your mortgage, you're getting like the tax benefits, like you could still be getting
Yeah.
or the appreciation, like you might still be
Yep.
getting like 3 out of 4 of the rewards, like
Right. And it beats the alternative of paying down somebody else's principal on a rental property when you're renting. Um, so that's something to keep in mind too. It's not only that the money you're paying is going towards paying down your principal, it's not going towards rent, which is like
yeah,
lighting it on fire.
yeah,
Might as well be throwing it away, right?
exactly. Yeah. Honestly, that's huge, that you just kind of brought that up. Like you're actually like saving money as well as like putting it into something and growing it. So like in a
Yeah.
way, you're kind of lucking out twice, depending on like one decision that you made.
Yeah.
That's a really crazy way to look at it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's it's like nuts to wrap your head around. Like it's just like ever since, kind of heard about like the whole house hacking thing, like it's kind of a no-brainer, like
Yeah. It became an obsession. It became an obsession
yeah,
for me, at least.
yeah, same, definitely. And even if it's not, like a 2 or a 3 family or something, depending on, like your area and like financial situation and whatever. Like, what if it's a single family? What if
Yeah.
maybe something like that works out a lot more? And, maybe it could be like you could rent it out, to some of your friends, if there's like 3 or 4 or 5 bedrooms in there. And now all of a sudden you get the same thing. And like this, I love how there's like
Right.
multiple ways to get the same result. Like how creative you can be. Like it's really cool.
Yeah. There's so many possibilities. And that would be cool, especially if you could still be living with your friends, only
Yeah,
your property.
exactly. It's that's why I'm just, so incredibly like fascinated with it because like there's so many ways to do it. And like it's not like, this kind of one way. If you're living in, a market like Boston or something where houses can be like, a million plus, like, that might not be too well, put it this way, it might be a lot more difficult to get into, starting off, but you kind of go to the outside of Boston a little bit, like, towards the suburbs and stuff, then it starts to get a bit more manageable, and
Yeah.
yeah.
That's that. So here's my first 3 properties that I have planned out. So the first one is going to be, like you said, sort of, it's going to be a 2 unit, maybe in a not as expensive area, sort of away from the city,
Mhm.
suburbs. It's going to be FHA, and I'm going to live there for a couple of years, and start eventually renting out both units. Then my property after that is going to be a condo, sort of in the city, and just sort of enjoy being back in Boston for probably another few years.
Yeah,
And then my third property is going to be back in the suburbs, single family.
I love that, man. I love that plan. For the single family, is that, kind of more of like a house that like you would just want, I guess for yourself, like to live in, that like the first two could be paying for and stuff, or like would you want to rent that one out too?
Possibly, but that's sort of like the long term,
Yeah.
the final, the final home that I'm going to buy probably would be that last one.
Yeah, that's really cool though. That's totally like the way to do it,
Yeah.
Like just get into the first two, have them bring you in some money and along with like, your W-2 or like whatever, kind of job you have.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to put that into the house that like you actually, would want to live in for yourself, like, and it's be able to kind of maybe choose the area like a lot more, and have it be less dependent on the money because you have the income and the equity from the first two to actually be able to give you, kind of like a bigger variety of choice. And yeah, that's genius. I really want to kind
Yeah.
of,
What's
um,
your plan? What What's your long term outlook?
um, honestly, it's pretty similar. So, the first one will probably be like a 2 or a 3 family. And
Mm-hmm.
then, live in that for, whether it's FHA or mass housing, for the time that you have to, while saving up money for the second one. And then, once that time period's up, like start looking for the second one. And then, the same thing, just rinse and repeat over and over.
Definitely.
And probably explore like partnering with people for deals and stuff. Like it
Yeah.
just sounds super interesting, to scale and be able to kind of tap into other people's, expertise, as well as like, them tap into your experiences and just kind of grow together with a lot of people,
Yeah. So forming sort of a partnership to have a portfolio of investment properties.
Yeah, it just sounds
That'd be
fun,
cool.
like why not?
Right. Totally.
Definitely. Um, what values are most important to you when it comes to doing business? I know we kind of got into, at least a couple earlier, but
Yep. So definitely transparency and honesty.
mhm,
I think sort of the key to these transactions to, buying a home is, if there's an issue, you got to communicate it ASAP, because if you're the sole holder of information, especially bad information, that's not good. So, I mean, when something isn't right, you have to communicate it first and foremost, and, it's okay. Things happen. And if you have good news, be the first one to share the good news too.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. And even like with some of the bad stuff that might come up, like I feel like a good amount of the time, like there's going to be some kind of solution like that you might be able to
Yep.
try. So even like to just kind of like express maybe some of the bad information, but even if like you've been through something like that before, be like, so this came up, whether it's like came up in an inspection or like something on with on your end, on like the loan officer kind of end, and be like, all right, this came up, but you can try this or this,
Right. What are we
and
doing next?
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Just kind of accept the fact that it happened, but here's a couple solutions we can try, to kind of get over this hurdle and keep moving.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's where the focus has to be. Positive outlook too. That's a huge, value of mine. Like, how can we make progress here?
Yeah, that's definitely a really big one, because unfortunately, not everything's sunshines and rainbows.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be able to kind of get through, have the mindset to get through the garbage, I guess, and to
Yeah.
keep moving forward. Yeah, I definitely couldn't agree more. Um, Now, Eric, do you read? And what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone?
Yep. So the book that I actually read for onboarding to
Mhm.
Bank of England, it was The One Thing by.
I love that one.
Yep. You know that one.
Yep.
So is it Gary Keller? Something
Yes.
Keller.
And
Gary Keller.
Jay Papazan, I think. I think it was the two of them.
Okay. That's a really good read. I mean, I think a lot of the principles in that book, like, you can't really multitask. Like, what's the one thing that I could do today that will make the rest of my day easier, the rest of my life easier? And, part of that is blocking out your time. 10 to 12, you have to do networking. Because if I don't block off time for it, sometimes it gets, put on the back burner, and that's a really important
Yeah.
for business
Honestly,
development.
that book is totally a game changer. Like I'm still like kind of struggling, like, keeping things like
Yeah,
implemented.
putting it in practice is a different story.
It is. It can be difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, that book is really, really crazy, man.
Mhm.
Just to even see like, some of the results like in the book of, like people that like did multitask, or even, I remember at some point in the book they were talking about, like if you're in an interview, and saying like, oh, I'm really good at multitasking. But after reading that, it's like, is that really a good thing?
Right. Yeah. So you're
Like,
doing multiple things. You focus on anything really. So.
yeah. And it was just a huge eye opener, I'm like, oh my God. Like, and like you said a minute ago, the phrase, what's the one thing I can do today? It's for like everything else to get
To be
easier.
easier. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's totally a game changer. Definitely
Agreed.
going to be reading that one quite a few more times in my life.
Yep. Yeah, and you know, we said like the key is implementing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, how to implement it? You just gotta stick to it. You gotta make a schedule, and keep it top of mind and track your goals.
Yeah. The time blocking is extremely useful, but I definitely do struggle with that. I have to get a lot better at that. You know,
Yep.
just saying like literally, you know, from 3:30 to 4, like this is happening, like nothing else, you know,
Yep.
just to like book that appointment with yourself basically. Like nothing else is getting in the way of this. Like I'm blocked off. Like this is what's happening. It's
Yeah,
tough to
I mean,
implement sometimes.
like your emails are going off, your phone's ringing, like you're getting texts, and people in the office are asking for your help. You have to be like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm doing my networking.
Yeah, that book is really, really crazy though, guys. I totally agree with you on, you know, highly recommending that. And, you know, even just to kind of hear the perspective, you know, and what like multitasking is, you know, from their eyes. You know, and is that a good thing or not so much? We'll see. You know? Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for coming on here, Eric. It really was a pleasure. You know, it was a really great time. And where can you be found on like social media and stuff?
Yeah. So Facebook, Eric Seferian. You know, my link to apply for home financing is right there. Purchases, refinances, any state, 4 units or less. So, you know, I'm happy to help out with anything home financing.
Yeah, definitely. I'll link all that stuff below. Guys, go talk to Eric, you know, if you need some financing. And yeah, thank you so much again for coming on here, man. It was a really fun time.
Yeah,
It was a
I
pleasure.
appreciate the opportunity. So thank you.
All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully, you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Biggerpockets. Until next time, let's build together.